So, a very warm welcome to all of you today for the School of Ancient Wisdom Satsang, our spiral of wisdom, which was started by Ma Manize, the founder of the School of Ancient Wisdom, many moons ago. So, without much more ado, my name is R.K. Ramesh. I've been with the School of Ancient Wisdom for many years now. It's really been a deep, not just a joy, but I think a sacred calling that put me in touch with this family. We really call ourselves a family because we've really, all of us together, we've grown and we have many more, miles to traverse before we reach our final goal, and we're aware of that. So over to Swati for the school prayer.
Good evening, all. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. So as you can see, our school prayer is a universal prayer. It is all inclusive. And when we talk about the hidden light, being guided by the hidden love, that is the Atma Bindu that we all are, in essence. We're all a spirit soul having a human experience. So that should kind of put you into the frame of mind that we come from over here. Now, to introduce a speaker for today, Mr. Moses Chowdari Gorrepati. I hope I got the pronunciation right.
Yeah.
Mr. Moses is not only a dynamic leader and inclusion champion, but also a trustee of Enable India. With over 12 years of experience in the disability sector, he has demonstrated exceptional dedication to empowering persons with disabilities. Despite facing visual impairment himself and coming from a humble background in Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Moses has achieved remarkable success in enabling individuals with disabilities to become active contributors to society. That's wonderful, Mr. Moses. In his role as the Executive Director of Enable India and an Acumen Fellow, Mr. Moses focuses on creating digital pathways, ensuring access to quality education and employment opportunities, and enhancing workplace solutions for people with disabilities. His efforts have positively impacted over 7,000 visually impaired individuals, opening up career opportunities across more than 25 sectors in India, which is really amazing. Additionally, he has worked on innovation solutions to improve accessibility in the workplace, furthering the cause of inclusivity. Moses' outstanding contributions have been recognized through prestigious awards such as the NCPEDP, that's the Mindtree Helen Keller Awards, and the Sarojini Trilok Nath National Awards. Beyond his professional achievements, he is known for being a fitness enthusiast, an avid reader, food connoisseur, and sports lover. Wow. You can stay updated with Mr. Moses' work and insights by following his YouTube channel, the details of which are located in the introduction posted in the School of Ancient Wisdom WhatsApp group. So that is youtube.com at Story Garden Moses. Through his leadership, advocacy, and inspirational journey, Moses G continues to drive positive change and promote inclusivity, creating a more accessible and equitable society for all. So really hats off to you, Mr. Moses, and we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us today. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, sir, and thank you so much for this opportunity to interact with all of you. I think today's topic is actually very close to my heart because when we talk about social inclusion, I think social inclusion is really a transformative experience for many of us. And when we talk about social inclusion, it's both ways. And today, as in, whether you are a person with disability or you are a person without disability, maybe you are from a small town, big town, all of that. Like the gender and all of that. I think when truly inclusion is celebrated, I think it's a transformative experience. And I wanted to share today my own experience of how when I had a show, when I was included socially with family, with friends, with at workplace, and now in my capacity, I go to many places. So I think social inclusion is a very key thing. Before we get started and understand what has been my journey and how I was included, what were the barriers and how I overcame those barriers, I wanted to just check with all of you as audience. Maybe a couple of you can share uh, what are your expectations from today's session? What are you really looking forward? And with all your permission, I will make it a little interactive so that it's not that only I have experienced the social inclusion. I'm sure many of you would have experienced social inclusion, but many of you also would have faced the barrier of not having that option or not getting included or a social exclusion, as we say. So let's talk about all our stories matters because we can learn from each other. Therefore, before I get started with my own journey, I wanted to check with maybe a couple of you can unmute and talk, or some of you who are more comfortable to maybe chat, put it in your chat window. I don't know if that is allowed on the this version of the Zoom. Ashita?
Oh, it's certainly allowed.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So yeah, so I think any of you want to share something? What are you looking forward from today's session by just looking at the topic? Any thoughts? Anything that you want me to touch upon? Please mention, and let's have it like interaction. It's not going to be mono talking.
What is that one thought which keep you motivated till date, and what is that one essence or mantra which is driving you till date? And have you not faced any fluctuations in your emotional balances?
Yeah, that's a
Don't you
great
feel like you are side corner at one point of the day? So how
Yeah.
do you overcome it?
Absolutely. I think that's a great one. I'm going to talk about it. I think in short, I think we're all human beings. We will have up and downs. We all feel, one day, get defeated. I think today I was reading a quote where I'm paraphrasing it. Courage is not about roaring all the time. Courage is about saying, I will try tomorrow. Even after a bad defeat, you tried something. Defeat need not be only in sports, right? Maybe you're trying something, you're never not able to get, or it could be even with relationships. You try telling somebody something, but the other person is not understanding. But in our families, we don't give up. We'll still go back and get up next day morning. We are family members. So I will certainly talk about it in my journey. But in short, I think it's not that every day your emotions are always good and positive. When you are low, how do you recognize that you are low today? And then pick up yourselves to do the whatever you need to do next day is very important. What kept me going is action. You are focusing on action, not just on results. I think that will drive you, and I will talk about it. Explaining my journey later. Maybe during the conversation today. But that's the quick thing. And thank you for bringing that up. I think that's an important question. So we will keep that in mind. So thank you for that question. Any other thoughts?
I'd like to encourage participation. So anybody else who has any thoughts or questions or an idea of what this might be, please do share.
There is a
Akshat
yes.
Hegde. Yes, please do share.
Please.
Please share.
Sir, I totally agree with you. And even my mantra also, like it is said in the Gita that karmanye vadikaraste ma phalesu kadachana. So whatever work I do, even in the office or even in the family or in the relationship, let us try our best to give it, and let us not worry about the result. That is a thought I have.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Nice.
Well, I also have an experience to share actually. As a child, I remember I was very painfully shy, and I did not want to interact with anybody actually, unless I was, familiar with people. And so at some time, especially when I went to a different country, I did experience feeling sometimes not included because I was either too shy or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I also know that as people grow spiritually, our ability to accept the other person, whatever their personality might be, whatever their outer garb, we call these our body an outer garb, the background, the skin color, or the gender, or whatever it may be, preferences, the ability to accept everybody, to be able to give love to all and not discriminate when it comes to giving love. Of course, we're always told to discriminate when it comes to who we want to associate with people who are kind and good or sattvic or whatever quality that you're looking for. But give love to everybody, regardless of the background. So that is very important. Social inclusion is very important, and that's the perspective I'm coming from. And I think through your sharing today, Mr. Moses, we're going to have a practical application of that thought, because as the world grows in consciousness, and I believe we have now come to a cusp, a transformative, a very dramatically transformative stage of the Earth's, of the world, with all the things going around geopolitically as well, that this is a very important topic. And from that perspective, I'm going to be listening to your talk today.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you took it to next level, because it's not just, I think inclusion is actually a process of, or a way to express our love, right? I mean, in the sense, it's
Very true.
no longer it's about just recognizing, but I think you are talking about when you truly can love everybody, inclusion automatically happens. And I think that's a beautiful thought. And I'm going to use that phrase because I think the way you expressed is really, really beautiful. So to begin the conversation, I thought I want to take four instances in my own life and how the social inclusion shaped my own transformation. Obviously, when I acquired vision impairment by birth. So immediately the first reaction, like any other family, went turn to religion, turn to hospitals, turn to medical intervention. Whatever parents could get me to, they did that. And, I had 3 surgeries at All India Medical Institute of Delhi. And how did I go there to Delhi is a story in itself for medical intervention. That's where my first journey. I will come back to it and talk about that first story. But so, I went to but cut the long story. Then I went to a school, with my cousins, and the teachers told after some time they couldn't include me in the school because I had this condition and I'm not able to read the board. From there too, I went to a school for blind. Then today, then did masters in English literature. But most importantly, today I'm working with an organization where we work for persons with disabilities, and I am one of the part of the senior leadership team. All this has happened, and I'm a trustee, as you heard in the introduction. I think all this has happened on 2 or 3 pivots in my life, which is one is obviously the inclusion aspect, how I was included as a child, or what were the inclusion challenges that made me who I am today. So let me begin the story. I think the social inclusion celebration for me begins with my first episode that I learned about my getting the medical intervention in Delhi. Because both my parents are not educated. That my father studied up to 9th standard and mom up to 7th standard. They did not know how to go to Delhi because language is one barrier. But I think in our village system is such that very inclusive, because I'm not talking about a particular village where I come from, but in general, I think our villages are very inclusive communities because they do care about what is happening in neighbors' life or relatives, next street, all of that. There was a tailor in my village who came from another state, Kerala, and living in my village just for his own livelihoods. He's a tailor in the village, and he got to know that I had a eye condition and I needed to be treated. And he joined my parents. My father couldn't go because he's a farmer. Couldn't go with us to Delhi. I think all the three times that my mom took me to Delhi, along with my mom and uncles and my grandfather. This gentleman who knew a language Hindi traveled with us. And why I'm bringing up this small, uh, you know, action or an act of inclusion that this Taylor did goes a long way, because what he demonstrated, according to me, is that it's not about always about us. I think it's always about where we are and whom we are with, and what is happening around us. So he had to shut his business for that many days to go to Delhi from Andhra. Those days, obviously, it's a train journey. You can understand every time I went there. I think the up and down was about a week's. So whenever I think about this Taylor, I always think about why did he do what was his motivation to do? I think it's about people say, right, it takes a village to raise a child. Is because when it comes to disability, because we don't know where to go. So what the Taylor has demonstrated is that I think that's my first social inclusion lesson, that when I heard the story, whatever is in our control, language. And he said, I will phone, mobile. He's really old now, but he spoke to me, and I thanked him and said, Uncle, why did you do this? He said, what are you asking? Why? So that I think the first thing that I had kind of experienced, when somebody stands up and say, no matter what happens, we are there. My second lesson has come from a medical store shopkeeper, which actually, I spoke about this in my YouTube channel recently, a story, how I went to school. So I told you that after all the surgeries, and doctors told that I have the condition called corneal dystrophy and glaucoma, and they said he has a little vision in his left eye, but functionally that won't be enough. So he had to be visually impaired till we find a technology that can help him to recover his sight. Anyway, so my parents, my mother especially, felt I should not be left behind. I should be sent to school. So I was sent to school with my cousins, and in nearby village town. And after some time, after a year or so, the teachers said they couldn't include me because I'm not able to see the board. Then my grandfather, mother's father, maternal grandfather, started looking at school that I could go to, being a blind child. Then one day he went to buy eye drops medicine for me, and he was just telling casualty to this shopkeeper who sells medicines, pharmacist. And he said, you know what, we are looking for a school where my grandson could go to. And this gentleman remembers another patient who used to come and buy the same drops. And he said, hold on, I knew somebody who was buying the same drops. Let me ask him where did he go and how did he study and all that. So that person happened to be a person with vision impairment who acquired vision impairment much later in his life. But obviously he kind of is adult and he had a network. But finally, because the shopkeeper showed interest to find a school for me, I went to a school because the shopkeeper got in touch with another person who was buying the same drops, then came back and told my grandfather, then I could go to school. I never met this shopkeeper after that because I was too young anyway when that time, and I don't know who he is. I don't know whether I will meet him. But I think what he has done is to go beyond his JD and again demonstrated social inclusion is important in the sense, again, that spirit of doing what is in our control. And why I'm calling it as a social inclusion, because you can turn, one customer comes for buying a drops. You don't need to go all the way to find a school for the child because he's not able to go to school. But again, what is in our control, doing that, I think is an important act. And I learned that sometimes small inclusion, that is giving that information, is making that attempt to get that information can go a long way for people. My mother has actually, played a large role in including me in everything because my parents had a choice saying that, okay, because the stigma is high those days, if you have a child with disability, people used to think that it's because of your sin. So sometimes we get scared of that, right? Because to talk about a child with disability to somebody else. But my mom and dad, I think, decided to talk about it openly because by talking about it, they actually opened opportunities for me to be part of family functions. Can you believe that there are still some people with disabilities who don't get that opportunity because parents have not accepted their disability or relatives have not accepted their disability. Therefore, they feel shy to take their child to a family function because they think others will kind of make fun of him or fun of her, whatever case may be. I think the social inclusion aspect in my life started very early because of my mom standing up and saying, no matter what happens, he will go to education. Again, I spoke about my mom recently on my YouTube channel, Story Garden, where I spoke about how she decided to do a right thing, though it's not easy to do because we always, we tend to take an option that is easy, but she took an option that is right to do, which is to send me to education despite she herself is not that educated. She stayed away from family for 10 years, especially from my family and my father because he's a farmer. As I said, he couldn't leave the land and come to school. The school for the blind is actually 70 kilometers away from my home. So my mother, my sister, and I stayed in the town for 10 to 12 years for me to get educated. I know that was not easy for my mom because, whatever we say, we are still in the, patriarchal society. Even today, we see the shades of patriarchy, but those days, for a woman to stand up and say that, I will get my child educated, staying away from my family, especially my father, and get me educated is a great act of courage. And she demonstrated social inclusion at a very, very young age. So these are my early impressions of the social inclusion. I pause here, but if there is anything that you want me to kind of clarify up to here, I will be happy to do that. Otherwise, we'll move forward. Anything that I spoke so far resonated with any of you? Any thoughts that you have?
Well, what comes across definitely is the extraordinary courage and inner strength that your mother has, and even your family on sticking with you, because these kind of situations, disabilities, are something that most people treat as they're not at ease. Even relatives, they're not at ease in including such things. So what your parents have done, especially your mother, outstanding.
Yeah.
That's one thing that strikes.
Absolutely. I think
And here we have one question.
yes.
Many people have difficulty in finding normal school. What is the solution?
Yeah, I mean, I'm understanding you when you mean by normal school, you mean inclusive school where it's not a special school, but anybody could go to. I think that's a great question. The Act, the 2016 Act for persons with disability, even 95 Act actually says, but 2016 Act says very clearly, education cannot be denied. So we could use that act to, kind of sensitize principals, school principals to say you can't deny education to a child because you can't include. However, in some cases, so for example, some severe disabilities, maybe going to a special school in the beginning may be important because then they get rehabilitation there and then go to an inclusive school. So what is the solution today? I think more and more people going and approaching. Even today, a lot of times persons with disabilities are not sent out. So that has to change. Only when we go and ask the school, why are you not admitting my child? Start change will begin. So to me, I think solution is with us to taking the first step of going out and making sure that we get included. But in the value chain, in the whole system has to change. That will take time, but I think things are improving. There are a lot of schools who are coming forward to accept persons with disabilities in the schools. And I think wherever we see that somebody is not including, I know most of the times they are not able to include persons with disability because it's just that they did not have awareness or they don't know how to include. I think if we can give that awareness, because fundamentally I believe people are good. There may be one or two people with motives, but primarily I believe, people around us are really good people. Everybody wants to help, but I think they don't know how to include. So if we can provide that little support of inclusion or how they can include, I think things will change. And we are seeing that things are changing, but not fast enough. I completely agree. So I think, yeah, so I think this, in summary, the small step is that persons with disabilities and their families having courage to say, yes, we will go and approach educational institutes for inclusion. I think that's the first step. And then creating awareness. And then there are organizations who can provide support to the schools in enabling and helping the schools to become inclusive as well. So there are support systems available. So with all of this, we can go ahead and do this. So this is great. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Are there enough schools to accommodate all the differently abled people that we have?
Wonderful question, sir. So I think there isn't one school that can include all persons with disability because now we have about 21 disabilities. And there is so much of diversity in disability because a lot of times we think disability means whatever we understand, like, okay, but because if I have affiliation to visually impairment, I think visually impaired. Somebody might think about hearing impaired when we say persons with disability. Or somebody else might think cerebral palsy. Somebody might think intellectual disability, whatever case. But I think there's so much of diversity. However, sir, I think there are teachers and schools that are open for many of these disabilities. For example, it may not be fully practical to have a child who is deaf and blind in the same classroom because the pedagogy, the methodology of teaching can be very different. So yes, there can be technically there is no thing, but practical challenges might come because persons who are deaf or visual learners, visually impaired would need more of audio, inputs, the more of voice. So there are some practical challenges, but there are schools who are open for many of this. But at least I don't know if there is any school that is working with all 21 disabilities.
Okay.
But I think that's the ideal place that we should go reach. In fact, a school, inclusive school, is open for anyone. And if we can, in the classroom, we can have different types of disabilities, without disabilities, people from different backgrounds, studying together, because that will lead to social inclusion. Because whenever you have a, when you are a child and you have exposure to persons with disability, in the child, ability to include persons with disabilities is high, because they would have seen us, for example, all my friends who are sighted friends, some of them are very close with me. They knew how to include visually impaired in every activity, because they have no apprehensions. They are not trying to be politically correct. For example, I'll give you again, this is something that I spoke on my channel, how I'm passionate about playing cricket. But we did not know those days I could even use a solution called sound ball, where I could play cricket. I wanted to play with my sighted friends, and my sighted friends used to include me. My friend, he used to sometimes stand with me and tell what is happening on the ground, who is hitting, where the ball is going. And I used to bowl, because all that I know is that I had to bowl, and batting I can't do because I couldn't see the ball. But when I was bowling, my friends the wicket keeper used to make a sound saying that I'm here. And I used to bowl. What is that? That's an inclusion. As a child, they are not looking at, oh, here is my friend who is blind. They are saying he is my friend. They are not seeing disability in the first place. They only see me as Moses, and they want me to play with them. So that's the spirit of childhood. I mean, child has no barriers. I mean, they don't see things as bad. Today we might say, oh, he's a visually impaired. How could he play cricket with sighted? Not possible. We as adults sometimes develop these walls in front of us. For a child, there is no wall. I have a child now. My wife and I are blessed with child, and he's very lovely. He's 1 year, 3 months. He was doing a small thing, right? Whenever he picks up his mom's phone, because she's sighted and she has no disability, he will just see from a very normal distance. Whenever he holds my phone, he will see very close, because that's how I will see my phone, because my low vision. And I was telling my wife, you see that he has no difference. He knows that this phone maybe we have to see nearby. That phone we don't need to see nearby. That's the child story, and you see the power of the simple story, right? And I think when I still remember when my school was playing against another school. Obviously, I couldn't be part of 11 team because it's a competition, and each person is important. And I remember my friend was telling that we will not, today you can't play, but we will see how you can play. They said, can we have a just a friendly 1 over before we get started, net practice. And then they made me to bowl in that, before that actual match. That's inclusion. And that did not come because they were thinking, no, I have to include this blind friend. No, they just wanted to make sure that friends, all of us are together. And I think if we can do that, I think world becomes much more inclusive.
I think the essence behind what you just now shared is love.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir. That's why when you said about love, that resonated with me. Because truly, they are not looking at, do I have a manual to include persons with disability? Oh, he's blind, how would I do? Nothing. Love. That's why the power of social inclusion is really transformative. And my friends, because of that experience that they had with me, today they don't see things as challenging anymore. Because they know how, they are with me, they know how I used to overcome whatever. They don't, they think disability is just an aspect. And that's the beauty. And my friend was saying that, why do we think about your disability when we are with you? No, you are a friend first, then anything else, right? That comes. And by the way, we see this implication hugely in the employment space. When an employee actually volunteers with an organization or with persons with disability, there the chances of that employee hiring a person with disability is much higher because they are much more comfortable with persons with disability because they went and did volunteering. For example, we have this beautiful concept of trekking with blind and deaf and persons with disability together trekking. When a corporate volunteer goes as a buddy for a trekking, they are not seeing this person with them as a blind or deaf. They are saying, oh, another person who is interested in going for a trek. So they are going together for a trek. So we talk about this normalizing disability because when you interact with persons with disability, when you are in the same place where you are growing together, doing things together, the disability gets normalized. Because my friends don't see me as a person with disability many times. My sister doesn't see me as a child with, for her, I'm her brother. Disability really is secondary because, for her, that doesn't come to her for first thing. As a siblings, we keep fighting. Even today, I mean, she's married, she has 2 kids. I have married, I have a kid. But even then, now, when we meet, the first thing that we do with our siblings is fight. And there is nothing to think about inclusion, disability, nothing. And I think that's the power of just doing things with love, sir. I think thank you so much for starting this session on that note, because love is a great way to teach you how to include people.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's also a great way to grow personally.
Absolutely. So that's what happened for my education. And friends obviously played a big role, as I said, in getting me involved in cricket, getting me involved in everything that I did. I used to go out with them, study together. They used to read out books. Why I'm sharing that is because if I had not got that opportunity to be included in the society, going on the cycle, I used to sit on the back seat of the, cycle and then pedal because my friend is a sighted, can handle the, manage the handle. Maybe I sit used to behind and then I have a leg power. So I used to do pedaling. That's inclusion. We are doing what we are good at, together doing it. Think about it, right? So it is that why I cherish those moments because who I am today is because of that. Because if I had not got that opportunity to be with my friends, go out, read books, whatever, have fun, my personality would not have got developed. So I think my biggest ask from all of you is that think about how you got benefit of social inclusion, whether you are a person with disability or not a person with disability. But now thinking about how you got benefit, what can you do now? Can we look at is there anybody that we are excluding in our families, in our families also sometimes when we have this family decision making process of coming together and talking, people who are shy or not very talkative will not get a chance to express their things. Can we ask? Can we include them in the decision making? Not everybody is articulative, or not everybody is active in playing sport, or not everybody is coming forward and saying, "I will do this." But can we look and see if there are anybody who is intentionally or unintentionally getting excluded because of their personality type? And need not be disability all the time because it can be anything. For example, when we at a very early age, I learned when I joined Enable India, when I became manager, one of the first things that Shanti told me is that be observant of how inclusive you are for the diverse needs. And I said, yeah, I'm blind. I'm managing a team for blind. I will understand everything. But I understood without my knowledge. I was scheduling my meetings towards the evenings. That means if there is a you know men or women, it can be anyone who had to go and attend to their child needs in the evening, I'm excluding them in the meetings because I'm not conscious of that. There are some people who need to go home on time. I was a bachelor at that time. I was okay to stretch. As a manager, you think sometimes, oh, it's okay to set up a meeting whenever you have time. But I learned at a very young age because of my how I was included. I learned that inclusion is a process. Inclusion is a process of love, and be aware there are other needs for others and see how you can include everyone. So, these are some of the things that I learned because of the power of inclusion. Right. So, yeah, I mean, then moving on from friends, I think then the role played by teachers, because especially one of my lecturers in college, I switched to English medium from Telugu medium after my +2. So I couldn't speak English very well, and I was in this college where there are a lot of people across the country come. So English is a common language of speaking in the campus as well. So I did not know anything except for saying good morning and have you had your lunch kind of thing. So I used to go to class along with the lecturer, because then I don't need to talk to anyone in the class. The lecturer comes and he starts the session, or she starts the lesson quickly. But there was one professor who saw that I was not interacting and started talking to me one-on-one, asking me specifically questions in the class for me to, the lecturer knows that I know the answer, but I struggle to say it in English. So, he used to put it such a way that I can actually get the clue from the question itself to be able to answer in English. I think that's another way of including. You are conscious of different people needs and giving that nudging. Hey, here is somebody who just joined English medium, may struggle, self-confidence can be very low to talk in English. So that, because they know that academically I'm good, because I stood first in the group HEC, History, Economics, Civics in my +2 in the open category, not just among persons with disability, but in general. They knew that academics wise, I'm there. I'm very interested in the subjects that I took, but the lecturer knew that I had no exposure to speaking in English. So he used to nudge me in the class, outside the class, tell me his own story, how he learned English, how he went to JNU after, just not knowing English, what did he do there. I think a lot of motivation. By just sharing his journey, he made me comfortable to say, hey, I can also belong here. Otherwise, I used to feel, I don't belong here. Everybody is speaking in good English. I can't speak. So I think I can't do anything here. That used to be my feeling. But this lecturer made a huge difference in my life. I'm sure you will have somebody like that in your life. Maybe if any of you want to share about who made that difference in your life, I think will be great to, have a conversation on that.
Would anybody like to
share?
Share? It'll be nice to hear.
Yeah.
Various stories.
Yeah. Because there's nothing right or wrong. I mean, these are the real stories of people. And yeah, maybe think about it. I mean, sure. But the question now is, can we play that? The people now, whether you're a person with disability or not, can we become conscious and see who needs it, who needs that extra nudging, who needs that extra comfort, and just do that. It will be transformative for you also, because it's not that it's not a, you are doing something out of something. When you can include, as I told my friends today, they cherish the time that they spend time with me, because they learned how to describe things. Some of them are very good at describing things, and some of them actually can help other visually impaired to get. Yeah. So I will address that about check and computer, but let me just say this one thing. The friends actually, they appreciate that experience they had with me, because they developed skills that are very, very rare. They developed a skill called empathy. Empathy is such a rare skill, right? So when you include people, you are also learning. Don't think that you are always doing a favor to somebody else. So there is a question around how do I, sign the check and how do I work on computer? Let me first answer the computer part. So even today, I'm able to have this session because I'm independent on using computer. Persons with vision impairment can work on computer using something called screen reader. So it's just, you look at the screen if you're sighted. We listen to the screen where screen reader reads. So that is what is the screen reader. And the technology.
Before you answer that,
Yeah.
Mr. Moses, just curious, no, was it the screen reader who read the chat message to you?
Yeah. It was screen reader who did this. Yeah.
I was wondering how you got to know. Okay.
Yeah. Because
Got
so now technology is such a way that we can do. I mean, I can work on Excel sheets, browse internet, anything. I mean, make presentations, all of that because of screen reading technology. It's just that people don't know that this exists. And there are some screen readers that are open source. That means there is no, cost associated with it. But yeah, I mean, I use a normal computer. There's no special computer. And how do I type? If you remember, again, it's again inclusion, right? Do you know that there are F and J keys on the laptop or computer on the keyboard? They're raised. They have a little dot,
Yeah.
a raised surface. That's because people can actually get orientation to the keyboard. When you
Right.
put your F and J on the respective fingers, you know the rest of the keyboard.
Yes.
Again, inclusion. Have you ever observed that the feature phones, when we have a keyboard phones, the 5 number used to have a dot. Even a physical telephone used to have the dot. Why? That's the reference for everybody. Because in a poor light condition, you are blind. You can't see every time, where is the 5 key and all that. But the moment you touch the phone, you know where the 5 is. And the dial pad, you know the thing. That's the power of inclusion. And today, many of us use the feature of putting silent vibrate mode on the phones. That's the feature that was invented for deaf. And we all of us use. So when a solution is very inclusive solution, it helps everybody. So that's my first answer for the computer question. How do I change sign checks? There is something called signature guide, which is let me see if I can actually show that on the camera. Give
And
me a
to
minute.
add on to that, yesterday when I did a poster, I got to learn one thing, how to describe a poster. So that was the first attempt I did. And I clearly explained this is the poster containing these colors and it is having this logo. And this is the picture which is embedded in it. And this is the link number and everything. And that was the first attempt that I could make. And I felt very satisfied that the
Absolutely.
message was conveyed.
Yeah, and you learned how to describe things. I mean,
Correct.
that's a great skill, right? Not everybody could.
Correct.
Do that. So that's the power of inclusion. It's not that you are doing some favor, you are actually learning. So here is the signature guide. I think if I'm showing it to the camera correctly.
Yes.
So it has a gap here. So what we do is that, for example, imagine if this is my palm where here I have to sign. So I put this on the check. I'll ask people to put this on the check where I need to sign. And I use this to guide me to sign using pen. How did I learn the alphabets? I learned alphabets because I want to sign and avail all the services. So I learned, and yeah, so this is how we sign. But that's a great question. And I'm sure this question came out of curiosity, right? How is it possible? That's all we needed. For us to have better social inclusion, we need to ask these questions. How would you do this? Is there a way that I can help you? And that's all it takes. You can ask, and then you will know how persons with disability can do different things. So please ask questions, no problem. And if you're a person with disability, if somebody is asking you a question of how you would do this, don't feel bad or don't hesitate to explain, because they're asking from a space of learning. And I think it's our equally, we persons with disabilities are also have responsibility to create that awareness. And I think I truly enjoy answering such questions. Yeah, so in the interest of time, do we open it up? How do we?
Interesting session.
Do you want to open it up for a discussion, Moses ji?
Yeah. I'm open for anything. I'm open. for a discussion.
Do you have any other point that you want to
No.
cover?
I think in short, I think what I'm saying is social inclusion is a transformative experience if it is on the both sides. Person who needed to be included and person who can include, both comes the halfway. And inclusion is a process. Inclusion actually helps you as an individual who is making that attempt to include others, actually will teach you many skills that you otherwise will not. So enjoy this process. And today, a lot of companies are coming forward to hire persons with disability. When I was growing up, for example, I was told only music is the option for as a visually impaired, but I don't even sing in my own bathroom because I'm not a good singer. But today there are 300 plus job roles. Organizations like Enable India has opened up. All this has happened because inclusion is happening in the real life. There are people who's making that attempt. Maybe there is a scope for improvement. I certainly agree. But I think we need to celebrate this inclusion process on day-to-day basis that all of us are doing. But there is certainly for improvement in including persons with disability much more. But recognizing that, I think we should first celebrate the way we are able to. For example, in India, how diverse we are, but we all live together. And I think our ability to be together itself talks highly about our ability to include. So what we focus is what we grow. So all the best to all of us. Enjoy this process of inclusion. It's a daily thing. It's not a one time. It's okay to make mistakes, but learn, ask questions when you don't know how much or how to help or how much can you help. Can I actually help or not? Rather than thinking all this in your mind, ask that person. It's not that if the other person is a person with disability, that person will always need help. No, better to ask, and then there's something to be help is given, but otherwise, fine.
And
So,
to add on to this, I would like to highlight two things, sir, what I learned from today. So initially, even I was of the same mindset, like people with the disabilities has to go to office, and for to go to office, we need a special caretaker, and we need a lot of funds to travel, and all these basic needs like using a washroom, all these things. And soon after the corona stepped into India, all the things were shattered. Everybody was doing work from home. Then that thought gave me a rise, like, why don't we approach? Then I approached, then I got it. Then I found it, unless and until we attempt, we will never know whether we can do or no. But we have that effort. And the second point to add on, since your mother is a one lady who took courage at that point of time, and in everybody's life, it is our mother who took this courage step. And so we are here. And I think we have to give that kind of awareness to the mother, like whoever, like who is still not aware, like that their children has a great potential to discover. So that is the thought I got it and I received.
absolutely. No, thank you for summarizing it as well nicely. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the belief, and I think today all of us can play that role, right? I mean, just be around and see. Sometimes maybe your neighbor's kid is not able to get involved in the game because he's small little one, shy. Other kids are bullying him. Whatever, you can always step in and do something to ensure that inclusion happens. That's all. I think each one can do what we have access to. I think this world will be a better place.
There is a very nice comment by Aparna ji. She said, one of the most inspiring sessions I've ever attended. What a bright, savvy person you are, sir. Best wishes.
Thank you so much. I think all of us, right? It's not that some of us are. Each one of us are very inspirational because we are alive and we are doing things. And I think each one, no matter whether you're a person with disability or not, I think there are lessons from each one to learn from. I think that's my belief. But thank you so much for the comment.
One thought struck me that when we talk about you, for example, you're visibly disabled in the sense that your power of sight is very low compared to the other person, and it's visible. Now, there are many other spectrums of less ability in many people, and they may not even be visible. I remember I had put my son in a Waldorf school, and in that school they were open to also accepting children who had Down syndrome and who had
learning disabilities,
Down syndrome and who are also autistic. And when I spent time with them, I realized actually, I remember reading also that these people, they come with a certain karmic aspects where they don't have to interact much with the outside world. They grow spiritually also. They're very sensitive spiritually also. And in fact, many people who have different, I think, who are differently abled actually develop a heightened sense of awareness in the other senses that do work. So that could be, if that could be evaluated in that person, and that person could be encouraged to develop using those extraordinary other senses that are highly developed, maybe the sense of hearing, the sense of touch, and so on. You might even be excellent at spotting out a person who's speaking a lie, for example, or a person who is inauthentic, or because sometimes as a person grows spiritually too, one tends to become more sensitive to these subtle vibrations. So a differently able person could actually probably be trained in those other areas in a better way than many so-called fully able people. It could be a good line of thought.
Absolutely. So, for example, sir, today we actually see that we have started at Neighbor India. So I will take that question on the autism in a bit. Just give me 5 seconds. So I was just saying, sir, that the ability to include and all that. Right? Today, what we are seeing is that at Enable India we started something for persons with blindness, girls, because we developed touch sense, because for us everything is through touch. Our girls are learning how to recognize early breast cancer because of their touch sense.
Right.
Because that's the faculty that is developed. It's not a sixth sense or anything. It's because of need it got developed.
Right.
Similarly, sir, a lot of manufacturing companies come to us and say, can I actually hire a deaf person in my factory environment? Because it's a very noisy. There is a deaf who is not getting impacted by that, working proactively. Yes, we at Enable India also work on the people with autism spectrum, adults. So we actually have something called NeoWay as a team. It's in partnership with specialist Dani. For example, let me actually give an example with persons with autism spectrum. Because their ability to, again, it's one of the, not everybody same in the spectrum, but if somebody on the high functional side, their ability to focus on something is greater. For example, a lot of companies actually prefer, including say SAP, prefers them to have a person with autism spectrum working on their testing processes, because the quality assurance is guaranteed. So yeah, I mean, I can put you in touch. Aparna, I think Aparna is the one who asked that question.
Yes.
If I get
Yes.
name correctly. I can put you in touch with NeoWay team. So my email ID is moses@enableindia.org, MOSCS. If there is a specific thing that you want to get in touch with the team, I will be happy to connect as well.
Perhaps if you can put your phone number down here in the chat window, it would help Moses Garu.
Yeah.
I have another thought process that if for people who have to interact with differently able people, like even be it a school or be it a training institution, they also have to be trained, because not everybody can do that. You have to have a certain aptitude for it. I feel inherently a person who's a seeker, has a higher chance of being in this environment. And if schools can be developed with people who have a certain personal growth aptitude or a spiritual growth aptitude, it will probably result in a much more beneficial environment, which can also be used then in the industry at large.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. Actually, we created something called includability framework. This is a word that we and it Enable India, the founder of Enable India has coined this word, Shanti Raghavan. So, includability is that ability to include people. It's no longer just a nice thing. It's this combination of skill, attitude, and competency.
Right.
Actually, yes, sir. As you rightly said, we to include persons with disability based on the role that you need to play. You need to have certain competencies. For example, if you want to work with deaf and communicate well, of course, you need to learn sign language. But attitude is same, right? The ability to learn, ask questions, be be a learner, learn from the community. I think that will give you ability to work. The other skills can be picked up, competency can be picked up, knowledge can be picked up, no problem. But we are seeing, sir, actually, we are seeing this as a economy in itself, because today there is about $13 trillion economy is the purchasing power of persons with disabilities and their family members. If the products and services are inclusive, the business people are listening to it, that is the power. Imagine if say hospitality industry, if the place is accessible, the family with persons with disability could also go there, because they can take that family member who is on a wheelchair, or things like that, right? That the business also happens. So absolutely, yes, sir. So we are calling this as a purple career, economy, where persons with disabilities have purchasing power. If you can make things inclusive, you as a business person can actually make more money. I mean, to put it very straightforward. If you are friendly, if you are a hotel, for example, I have a friend who is a deafblind, and whenever he comes to Enable India, he would love to go nearby shop and eat biryani. So that small shopkeeper actually learned how to interact with him, because the shopkeeper knows how to interact with my friend who is a deafblind. This guy goes there all the time. He earned a loyal customer.
Yes.
Excellent. So it's pleasure interacting with all of you, and thank you so much. I hope I could clarify some of the things.
There is something else that message that's come in, which says, what are your thoughts about a job or economically independence of our economic independence? Since now the market is being driven by AI, the synthetic data. So do you still believe that there would be job guarantee?
Yeah. No, I think I'm a person very hopeful. AI is evolving. I think how to use AI is up to us. I was actually telling somebody, if AI is growing and if AI had to work better, we have to actually do data mapping much better. And the data mapping and giving data tagging and all that can be done by persons with disabilities as well. I think we can play a better role, and we use AI to do a better role. But yes, the kind of skills that we need to learn now are very different. It's no longer just by-hearting something and remembering. So that era is over. Now it's about how much can you contribute, how much creativity can you possess, and how do you process that. So those are the things that you can do. And I think I'm very hopeful in general that AI and all these things, advancement will only help us to do things much better.
Very nice. So just to paraphrase what another message that came in is, wonderful talk by you, sir. Got to learn a lot from you. And that's very true. Yes. Would anybody else have any more questions? Would they like to share something?
Otherwise, I have another meeting in about, some time. So.
Right. So which means that, we have now come to the end of our session today. And on behalf of the School of Ancient Wisdom, a deep, heartfelt thanks for sharing your perspective, Moses Kai. I think it really has made us all a better person. It has made us all better people, because the ability for you to. Before we go on, I did have one last question, which suddenly came back. When you were born with this disability, right?
Yeah.
So it would not have occurred to you as a disability in the first place.
Yeah.
It's only because people told you it's a disability, you might have later on, kind of possibly felt
Yeah,
the guilt. But as a
I'm-
child, I'm very sure that it would never have occurred to you that this was a disability.
Sir,
So,
many years actually I used to think why my sister is sitting far and she's seeing the TV, because I could only see the TV very close. So I used to tell her, how can you see from there? She used to say, I can see from here. That is, I did not understand as a child that I can't see well. I was thinking the whole world is like this only.
exactly. So now in your case, you had a beneficial aspect, a very powerful aspect of a supportive visionary mother, and also overall a supportive family scenario. So it probably has given rise to your, your go-getting ability to empower others, not just yourself, but it is so strong. The energy that has come from within is so strong that you are actually empowering and making a difference to many lives. So that is where people who even work with differently able people, there is an aspect of humanity when you give, there's a lot of trupti, there's a lot of feeling of fulfillment. And that is something that I became aware of, when you spoke today. You kind of dwelled into, dwelt in the subtle aspects of what it is to be a human, how to connect with another. Because yes, whatever you said about your friends, including you, if I really am your friend, it doesn't matter whether you're blind or deaf, but
Yeah.
you kind of fill me up in a certain way. As friends, we tend to fill each other's heart with certain experiences, certain joys, and that is what you really got us in touch with. And as human beings, if we intrinsically, I think Bharat or India has, if you look at the ancient systems, the education system, the Gurukul systems that were there till 1750s, before they were broken down by the colonial invasion, they were naturally, we were all as a population naturally inclusive. So I think the good news is that we are getting back to a stage where, as a, if you look at the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept, which is all inclusive, we are getting back to that state, and India will probably be in the forefront of this new way of being and living, which includes everybody. So that is something that I also became present to, and people like yourself will really be the beacons of light that can bring about that change. Now that the country is growing and becoming more prominent on the world stage, and the Indian way of thinking traditionally, which is all inclusive and sustainable, this is an excellent platform for you to leverage these new ideologies of humanity. So a lot of, you can imagine, I have been touched by your talk in this manner with all these new ideas coming in. And I'm sure my other Satsang family members would have also been uplifted in this manner. For that, we really have to thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this and making us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
On that,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Moses Karo. So on that note of gratitude, let us close with the Loka Samasta. Please sit straight with your back, neck, and head aligned. Take a nice deep breath and let go. Let us all center ourselves within and observe the language of silence, which is the language of the soul. As we do the Loka Samasta, please think about all your loved ones who need these prayers of upliftment. Different parts of the world which are troubled by war or other modes of conflict or lower consciousness. Every individual and group prayer has the power to plant the seed of transformation towards love and truth. Put your hands together, please, as we say the Loka Samasta. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta, 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 Sukhino B Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu. Thank you, everyone. And please do join us again with your friends and family next Thursday. Every Thursday, we have the same spiral of wisdom. So till then, good night and God bless.